So, you may have noticed a new banner in our foyer. Yeah, did people see that when you walked in? It's kind of eye-opening there, yeah. So in addition to adding a little splash of color to the space, that banner spotlights a set of shared values that have been identified through a years-long collaborative process, things that are foundational to our co-created faith tradition. Now, truth be told, I know that this particular church community did not contribute much to the creation of those values, so you may not yet have much resonance with them. Part of my hope for this community is the next time this type of work is being done, you will have greater influence over the outcome. Because this faith tradition is far more compelling when you realize that you actually have a great deal of agency over its direction. You could have been involved, you just weren't involved. So I'm going to invite you to do the steps that it takes to become connected and feel like you can contribute next time these directional things are happening. So my intention in the coming months is to have us all review these newly articulated values together and discuss them and think about them, and yes, heaven forbid, even disagree with some of them. Because this is not a top-down faith. Everyone that is a part of this faith has the opportunity to shape its evolution. But in order to do that, you need to be informed about the ideas that it contains. And once you're informed about its ideas, this faith challenges you to examine your relationship with those ideas. To really understand the history and the wisdom and the logic and the emotions that were embedded within the processes that gave birth to these ideas. And then to consider how these ideas resonate or clash with your own beliefs, integrating them into your ongoing responsible search for truth and meaning, and then most importantly, challenging yourself to ensure that your actions align with the principles and values you claim to hold as a member of this faith tradition. Just like the earliest followers of Jesus, our chosen faith tradition seeks to inspire and guide its followers to do all that we can do to create heaven right here on earth. And the added bonus, good news, is that if your responsible search for truth and meaning has led you to a firm belief in an afterlife, or perhaps reincarnation, if there is any connection at all between what happens on this plane and your fate on the next, pretty much every wisdom tradition that speaks to this possibility says that how you live this life impacts your experience on the next. So it doesn't ultimately matter what you believe about what happens after this life. Attempting to live your life aligned with the principles and values of this faith should set you up for the best life you can live now, and potentially even set you up for well for the next parts of your journey, whatever that may be. So we're going to dig into this rewrite and these new values in the coming months. All of us, both in here and in our religious exploration classes. Family ministry means giving parents and caregivers and kids the tools they all need to ensure their compasses are aligned and they have maps to follow when the way forward seems unclear. So there are these 6 values, some of which have interesting names like pluralism. We're going to need to dig into that, and we will get to them eventually. But in case you've missed it, as I've been starting to talk about this, the image that was voted on at General Assembly places love at the center as the foundation of it all. Now, this is surely a nod to our Universalist roots, a proud tradition that back in the day had the heretical courage to disagree with the orthodoxy that said humans are born into original sin and were destined to an eternity in hell if they weren't chosen to be saved. That whole inherent worthiness thing, that came from our Universalist ancestors. So today we're going to talk about love. But we're not going to talk about puppy love or romantic love or even empathetic love. Let me read you the part of the updated UUA bylaws that speaks to the type of love that I'm going to be talking about today. Section C.2.2 values and covenants states. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant heritage, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. I'm going to repeat that last line. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. This is a powerful new statement that has emerged from within our shared tradition. We are accountable to one another. By signing on to be a member of this faith tradition, I am agreeing to be accountable to you for doing my part to try to make things better in whatever ways that I can. And you are committing the same to me and to everyone in this room and to everyone else that you encounter. Because our faith also tells us that we are all connected. Accountable for doing the work. This is not a passive faith tradition. It demands some level of effort on our part. The work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Love as a spiritual discipline. I think we should break that part down too. First, a couple of definitions from our friends at the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Spiritual. I know some people bristle at this word. Let's see how simple it can be. Spiritual. Relating to or affecting the human spirit. I don't know what you believe, but I guarantee you can probably tell how your spirit's feeling today. Are you feeling light? Are you feeling heavy? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling whatever? That's your spirit. Spiritual, relating to or affecting the human spirit. It doesn't need to be any more complex than that. Discipline. Train oneself to do something in a controlled or disciplined way. This is a faith that offers far more than I think most folks turn to it for. And maybe that's because to get the benefit, you actually have to approach it as work with a great deal of intention. And this is not what we're used to being told these days. We are told if we just read this book or attend this workshop or try this diet, we will get everything we want, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? But come on, we know that life is not like this. This life can at times be a beautiful miracle, but it can also be random and tragic and hard as hell, as we heard today in our sharings. And failure to take an honest look at this reality and plan for how to face it leaves many in our society adrift, tracing after some imagined nirvana that is promised, but without actual support or guidance to help us get what our spirits really need to be strong enough to survive the inevitable storms. And that thing that our spirits need is love. To be truly strong, healthy beings, we benefit from deep wells of love for ourselves, love from our families, our friends, and our neighbors, and a sense that there is actually more love available in the world than hate. Now, I recognize that love is a very complex topic. And there is no way that I could really go as deep and as wide as this concept requires in the time that I have remaining here today. But that's okay. We get to keep coming back here together week after week to learn and imagine and continually try to grow. Because coming to church every Sunday is a spiritual discipline. So let me just plant a few seeds for us to begin to consider as we move forward together with this exploration of what it means to have love at the center of our faith tradition. The first and primary type of love, foundational to all, is the love for self. Because if our attempts to spread more love in this world are not grounded in a sincere, genuine, fully examined love for ourselves, then our efforts to expand love in the world can never truly be pure. We may strive to do nice things for others that may feel like love, but when push comes to shove, we will always find a self-serving motivation underneath those acts that we do. And that looks something like this. I am not inherently worthy of love, but maybe, just maybe, if I do some good things for people, they will love me. And then maybe I will be able to see myself as lovable. In a system like this, there is never enough. Because no matter how much love comes back based on the actions you take, that love is being swallowed up by a container that is not designed to hold it. No matter how much love is received, it is never fully believed, and thus needs more and more and more to try to keep filling that hole. Now again, this is a concept we could spend a whole lifetime exploring, but here today I'm just introducing some concepts that I hope you take away and wrestle with. The spiritual discipline of love has got to begin with the practice of truly finding a way to love ourselves, warts and all, genuinely. Not an egocentric, holier-than-thou love, but a deep, abiding love that says, I am here, and I am a miracle, and I am just as worthy of love as every child, as every puppy or kitten, as every flower, as every sunset, as every other thing which we find so easy to love. Do you love yourself in that way? I sure hope so. And if not, it's okay. We all have that work to do. But the good news is you don't have to do that work alone as a member of this faith tradition. Remember, we are accountable to one another for doing this work. I have worked really hard to learn how to love myself this way. Trust me, it did not come easy. So I'm here to help. And I know that there are many in this room that have likely engaged in this work over their lifetimes. And they're here to help too. None of us has to face this hard stuff alone. The next type of love that is both key to the creation of a better world and requires a whole lot of spiritual discipline is love for others. Especially those others we feel like we disagree with, or those that appear to mean us harm, or even those that have actually caused us harm. Now, trust me, folks, this is some complex love work. And again, we're not going to solve for this today. I'm just planting these seeds to get you thinking about this in the coming year as we continue to deepen the practice of our faith together. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. Love thy neighbor as thyself. It's almost as if our ancient siblings live next door to folks that have different political beliefs and put up different yard signs in front of their homes, and they needed this type of reminder to ensure they found a way of keep getting along for the long-term health and survival of their communities. I am not going to lie. Loving those that we believe we disagree with or have actually harmed us takes some serious work. And it is an act of faith to believe that that work is actually worth it. A faith with love at the center. Because just what is the opposite of a faith with love at the center? The opposite of love is hate. And if we are not intentionally trying to expand love in the world, then by default, we are at the very least allowing hate to expand. And I don't know about you, but that's not the world I want to live in. And as they say, the only way to change things for the better is to be the change we want to see. So how in the world can we possibly do this? Thankfully, our faith tradition offers you a myriad of options. Because we know that everyone comes to this faith tradition from a different place, so we need to make sure we offer a variety of paths to follow as we work together towards these shared ideals. The source of this learning is actually contained back in that section of our bylaws that I read earlier. We are reminded that we draw from our heritage of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building upon the foundation of love. This faith tradition claims no monopoly on the truth. Rather, we say that the truth we need to guide our way is already out there and has the potential to be rediscovered and redefined by each new generation of seekers. The ancient traditions we draw from all spoke to these consistent human challenges. One part of our shared heritage is Judaism, an ancient tradition whose intentionally developed wisdom stretches back nearly 4,000 years. Now, I don't know about you, but I literally have a hard time holding on to my intention for my New Year's resolutions from January 1st through January 15th, right? For a tradition to have lasted since the time before the pyramids were built, there is likely something of value to be gleaned from its teachings. Over the coming weeks, we are entering the high holy days of the Jewish calendar, marked by the holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. This is the beginning of the Jewish New Year. Rosh Hashanah is celebrated as we might imagine, we might be familiar with in our culture, with an intentional focus on the sweetness of life and gratitude for all the blessings that we have received. But then the prescription becomes something that may feel a little less familiar to those of us that were raised in different faith traditions or in no traditions at all. Our Jewish friends quickly move from a remembrance of the sweetness available in this life into a very intentional time of reflection over their actions over the past year. An intentional, mindful review of all that they have done, and most importantly, an honest reckoning of the times when their actions have not lived up to their intentions. This work is the definition of spiritual discipline. And believe it or not, this honest reckoning and the work it takes to atone for our mistakes is actually a crucial part of being able to honestly love ourselves. It's all connected. So this is what I'm going to challenge us to do, if you're willing to join me. Rosh Hashanah begins at sundown this coming Friday and runs through the next time we will gather together next Sunday. For this coming week, I invite you to begin to prepare yourselves for the hard work of spiritual reckoning by really focusing your attentions this week on all of the blessings in your life. All of them. The beauty of each sunrise. The miracle of each blade of grass. The life-giving sustenance of each breath you take and each sip of water that passes your lips. The miracle of each and every child you see. And the miracle of each person you find sitting next to you. The very miracle of life itself. As you enter into next weekend, intentionally carve out time to celebrate those miracles that you've been noticing. Create for yourself a ritual that reminds you of these miracles. Or just come back to church again. We're going to borrow a ritual from Rosh Hashanah, enjoy the sweet bounty of slices of apple with honey, which is one of the rituals our Jewish brethren and sisters. This is a tradition that has been shared by the members of the Jewish tradition for thousands of years because there is strength to be gained from the development of consistent practices we come back to year after year to remind us of our intentions. And then at the service next week, we will enter into the time of Yom Kippur, the hard work of looking back and taking stock of our actions, determining where our actions have come up short of our intentions, and determining what actions we might take to try to atone for those times when our actions did not live up to our intentions. And then in the coming weeks after that, we'll talk again about the wisdom that is passed down from our Jewish ancestors about how to atone for those misses and how to make amends. Look, truth be told, we can't just wave a magic wand and make everything that's broken right with the world. But if we're going to take the time and effort it takes to live our lives in ways that add more light to the world than darkness, then we need to have a plan and support for helping to manifest that plan in the world. Our new value statements offer us a guiding star to follow. And our faith tradition invites us to examine the myriad of options that have been handed down to us through the ages for following a path that we believe will lead us to better tomorrows for ourselves and for our children's. This faith requires work, and it requires practice. I think my role as a spiritual leader is to continue to remind myself of this path and to offer you help along the way as you make your own way down the path. Because hard journeys are just plain easier when there's help available along the way. And I truly believe setting our destinations towards the creation of heaven on earth, even if we don't make it there in our own lifetimes, is a worthy journey to commit ourselves to. We have work to do, and I am beyond grateful to be doing this work together with you. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our closing words are from Irish poet John O'Donohue, A New Beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling that emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety, and the gray promises whispered that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered would you always live like this? Then the delight when your courage kindled and you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself to the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desires. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease and risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you.